Welcome to lesson 8.2 of Ecom Entrepreneurs Academy. In this lesson, we'll be discussing two things, inventory and sales. So with regards to inventory, how do we find it or how can we check it? Well, first you go to the inventory tab and then you go to the drop-down manage inventory. And that's how you basically see your inventory number, how much inventory you have on hand or at the FBA warehouse at any given moment or any given time. How do we check sales? Well, we go to the Reports tab in Seller Central and we click on Business Reports. So you can generally Welcome to lesson 8.2 of Ecom Entrepreneurs Academy. In this lesson, we'll be discussing two things, inventory and sales. With regards to how we can find the number of items we still have in our inventory or at the FBA warehouse, how do we check that? Well, we go to the Inventory tab and we click on Manage Inventory. It's a very simple process. When you get to Manage Inventory, you'll see the exact number of units you have left in your account in Seller Central. Number two is sales. Where do we find sales, or how do we check it? We go to reports and we go to business reports. So by default, I believe the number that they show is the daily sales, so however many sales you have for that given day, but you can change the time period. You can make it for the last week, the last 30 days, whatever you want, whatever numbers you want to check. And not only do they give you the number of orders that you had, they give you the number of dollars or number of total sales that you made, and also they give you a chart or a graph so you can see kind of the trend. Is it going upward, downward? And that's especially useful if you're looking at the sales numbers for a longer period of time, let's say for a week or a month, so you can see if you're improving or not improving in terms of your sales numbers. So let's get into inventory a little bit here. The first thing that you want to make sure of is that you do not want to run out of inventory, right? This sounds almost too simple and too basic, but the thing is that many people fall into this mistake. They don't keep an eye on their inventory, or they don't keep track of it and accurately predict how quickly their inventory is running out, and how if they can even replenish their inventory in time before they run out. So it's very, very important that you do not run out of inventory. And the reason for that is if you're not making money, then you're losing money. So if you go out of stock and you have no units to sell, then your listing is going to go down. And of course, if you were having, let's say, 10 sales a day and now you're making zero because you're out of stock, then obviously you're losing 10 sales a day. You're actually losing money if you're not making money. Your ranking will also fall. So this is generally known in the Amazon selling community, that when your listing goes down, then your ranking pretty much falls, especially if there's an extended period of time during which your inventory was out, you were out of stock, and your listing was down. So these are both very important reasons why you should never run out of inventory, as long as you can help it. The other thing is you don't want to order too much inventory. So this is another problem, just like not running out of inventory. Sometimes people order too much inventory. They think they're kind of overconfident. Sometimes they think that their product's going to do amazing. They order like 3,000 units, and a few months later they still have 2,500 units left, right? Because they for whatever reason thought that they were going to sell really, really well, or for maybe they couldn't get a lower amount from the supplier because the supplier wouldn't either give it to them, or they were getting a much, much better price where it actually made sense to order that much instead of, let's say, 1,000, because of the price difference between those two tiers. Whatever the reason is, a lot of people do get stuck with this as well, and you don't want to order too much inventory. First of all, because then your costs will be extremely high. Your cost of goods sold, excuse me, you basically have money lying in the warehouse essentially, and it's sitting there until you sell it, right? The other thing is that Amazon may charge you long-term storage fees. Okay, so when your inventory is sitting in the Amazon warehouse, I believe for more than 6 months, they actually charge you what's known as long-term storage fees. So you don't want to get in that, because then you're losing money. Amazon's going to charge you more just for having used their storage for more than 6 months. So how can we prevent both of those problems, either running out of inventory or not ordering too much inventory? Well, we should know the total lead time for new inventory orders. Okay, this is extremely important, and that's because essentially you need to know how long it will take for you to get your new batch of inventory. That will definitely help you predict and make that decision of when you need to order more. So, for example, if you have, let's say, 300 units left and you're selling 10 a day, that means that you have 30 days right now, if those sales continue at that pace, to get more inventory. Now, you know that your supplier, it takes, let's say, 24 to 48 hours to actually place the order, and then it takes your supplier about 2 weeks to produce it, and then it takes another week for them for the shipping process plus checking in to Amazon FBA. So that's a total of about 23 to 25 days total. So you know that that's the maximum amount of time that you have to, safely order more inventory without going out of stock. Okay, now that's, you have 25 days. That's in that hypothetical scenario, you would have 25 days. You need to make sure that you know exactly what the lead time is with your supplier. So have that cleared up. Tell them, hey, at any given time, if I approach you and say that, hey, we're running out of stock, I need to place another mass order for this many units, how long will it take? You need to know that exact lead time and have it documented so that when you approach your supplier, make sure that they can have it done in that time as you discussed beforehand. Okay, and that's why I put here suppliers play a very large role. Know how many average sales a day you've had over the past month to know when to place a new inventory order. Okay, so we kind of discussed this already. If you know that you're having 10 sales a day, then that means that you're averaging your 10 sales a day is, if you had 300 sales over the past month, then you're averaging around 10 a day. Okay, and the reason you want to go take the average sales per day over the last month is because you may have had some ups and downs. So you want to take enough data where you can comfortably have a good average, a good representative average of your trends, right? If you only take the last week, in the last week, let's say you had lower sales than usual. Let's say you only had, let's say, 5 sales a day over the last week, whereas before you were averaging, let's say, 8 to 10 sales a day. For whatever reason, the last week was slower. Then you've actually misrepresented the data by only taking a small portion of it instead of taking and more than more data than that you had. So that's why it's very important to take as much data as possible. I prefer about the last month or 30 days. And then you want to also know the supplier pricing tiers. This is extremely important so that you can make a quick decision. You need to know how much they charge for, let's say, another 500 units or 1,000 units or 1,500, and what the difference is in pricing per unit at each of those tiers. The other thing you want to do that I advise is ask for a discount every time. And this is very common in any business relationship. The more you work with a certain business partner, and your supplier is your partner, okay? Remember that they're your business partner. It's a mutually beneficial relationship, and you want to ask for a discount every time, because as the relationship grows, then that gives you the ability to get a lower price from that supplier. If you want to for continuing business with them. So generally, I ask for a few cents off per unit every single time I place a new order, and the supplier generally agrees to that discount because they know that's kind of common that people do that, and with any business relationship that is continuing for the long term, that's generally acceptable. And then finally, I also recommend continually improving your product, and specifically I'm talking about the packaging. So the first time, and we've talked about this all the way back in module 1, that imperfect action is better than perfect inaction, right? And so the first time you put together your product, your packaging, and everything, it was probably not 100%. It was probably not the best you could do, but at the very least, you got it up, you got it running, you started making sales. Now you have the opportunity, now that you have everything else set up and you're actually making sales, you can potentially improve the packaging of your product. Not only that, but actually the product itself, it's very, very, very important. And I say this with very, like I put like an asterisk, a star next to this, because I can't emphasize this enough, that you need to continually look at your competitors and you need to look at the market and you need to stay ahead of the market. And every time you place a new order of inventory, it's an opportunity for you to improve your product, whether it's to add another, add in something, small with your product if you want to, continue your competitive advantage. If you want to improve a feature of the product, you look at your competitors and there's always new stuff coming out. Some competitors giving something extra away that no one else has given before, or they have some certain feature that is new on the market that no one else has. And if you look at the market and you do your research, every time you place a new order of inventory, you add something new to your product or you improve it in a certain way, then it will allow you to stay on top of your competitors for a very long time. Because what I've seen too often, even with my own products actually, is that when we place a new order, we think that, hey, we're doing really well right now, we gained traction, so much so that we had to order more inventory and our product's going to continue to do great, no problem. And later what happens is that competitors, because they start offering better products and sometimes even at lower prices, and even if it's not a lower price, just a higher quality product, better features, they're offering something extra with it, whatever the case is, products are always evolving in the market, and China is always coming out with newer features and newer products, higher quality, different things and whatnot. So it's important that you do that. And if you don't, then you're going to fall behind and you'll realize too late, right? When the entire market is flooded with these new features and you're kind of the old product now, the old guy on the block, that's not a good situation to be in. So that's why always stay ahead of your competition by continually improving your product every time you order in your inventory. So look at the product itself and improve it based on what your competitors are doing. And even if your competitors honestly aren't doing anything new at that moment, at the very least ask your supplier, hey, is there any way we can improve this product? Or look at your reviews that you have, your emails that you've received. Are there any negative things that people have said that you can improve in your product in this next order? That's very, very important. And also, like I said, the packaging is very important as well. If you didn't put too much time or thought into it, in the first batch of inventory that you ordered, just because you were trying to get your product up as soon as possible, then in the second time or whatever time this is, make sure that you improve your packaging. Now let's get into sales, which is the second aspect of this lesson. So we already discussed inventory and different things under inventory. Now let's look at sales. Keep an eye on your sales numbers every day. This is extremely important. You need to, at the very least, log into your Seller Central account once a day and just follow the steps to getting to your sales numbers and just look at that once every single day. I advise making this a consistent time of day. So whether it's at the beginning of the day to look at the sales of the previous day, or if you're looking at the sales numbers at the end of the day for the current day, that exact day earlier on, whatever sales you had, just keep a consistent time every day so that you have, so you keep that consistent. If there's ever an abnormal sales day, good or bad, so if you had an influx in sales or if you had a really bad day in sales, worse than normal, then you want to try to identify the cause immediately.